In today's interview, we'll discuss key accounting, tax and administrative changes affecting businesses in Poland based on TMF Group Q3 2024 report. Joining us is Joanna Romańczuk, Managing Director Poland and TMF Group. We'll share insights on both the positive developments and the challenges companies face in navigating these changes.
Poland was ranked 7th most challenging jurisdiction in Europe. The FDA in Poland, we're still doing pretty well, although there is clearly visible slowdown. Moreover, what you see is that the shared services oftentimes decided to stop their businesses in Poland and move to India, for example. Taxation, stability on the environment, and predictability, which we didn't have in the last years, is extremely important.
Welcome to our studio.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation.
Let's start maybe with introducing TMF Group Barometer. What is this tool for? Who does it serve? And why you actually brought such a tool to the market?
At TMF, we believe, and this is our mission, to support international trade. And many, both investors but also local entrepreneurs, struggle to monitor and comprehend all of these changes that are happening. Some of them are important, some of them are interesting, and some of them are simply not impacting the business, although perhaps widely discussed in the media. So our intention is to flag the key elements that it's worth to reflect on how those elements may impact our clients' ability, not only our clients, but all entrepreneurs' ability to conduct business in the following years.
Okay, so now we're going to discuss the changes that were implemented into Q3. I understand that also the quarterly approach is reflecting the fact that there is a big dynamics in the changes. So let's start with the things that you discussed in your report for Q3. I think you mentioned 11 changes. You indicate 7 of them as those that will have a positive impact on the business. So let's start with them.
Yeah, so I think out of these 7, my favorite and the one I have biggest hopes for is the roadmap for the digitalization of tax authorities and tax services. It's being conducted at a pretty low pace, which might be frustrating, but the fact that we are going towards the digitalization is good for everyone who need to deal with tax authorities. And there were some pilots already implemented. So in selected tax offices, people are able to pay for tax stamp duty through the QR code in relation to local governments' payments. So while it may seem small, it's extremely efficient and time-saving, both for the tax authorities and for people and entrepreneurs and companies.
Mm-hmm. So that's one. What are the others? I think I would say that maybe the one that is cash-based PIT is something quite interesting.
That is very interesting, and it's so it's important to stress out that it will only apply to sole entrepreneurs, so not to the companies. And in real life, a lot of sole entrepreneurs struggle with liquidity. Because their tax obligation arises from the moment where they issue an invoice. But in real life, the payment is oftentimes received many days, weeks, or even months after the due date on the invoice. So currently the sole entrepreneur, they need to have funds to cover their tax obligations while they still haven't received the payment. So what the new legislation brings is that for this category of sole entrepreneurs whose annual revenue does not exceed 250,000 euro, their tax obligation only arises at the moment when they receive the payment. So that should aid their liquidity, their cash position, and ability to continue their operations even if the payment wasn't yet received.
And that will come to force starting from
1st of January 2025.
At the report, you also mention an increase in the threshold for conducting unregistered business activity. What does it mean?
It means that the requirement to register a small business, again, we're talking about physical persons operations has been increased, right? So the obligation to register is not arising as quickly as it is currently.
Mm-hmm. And I think that also maybe those changes, because you mentioned that most of them are not for the companies. And within those changes, is there any changes that has an impact on the bigger companies, international companies? As you mentioned, your company in the first place is, to facilitate the international trade. So from the bigger perspective, bigger enterprises perspective, if any of those changes will have an impact, positive or negative?
The major change is in the labor code that changes the definition of seniority of an employee. So it means that any activity that currently are not covered by the labor agreement will be included in this seniority. And that means that these employees will sooner get higher holiday accrual, they sooner will be eligible for any anniversary bonuses, etc. So while this is good for the employees because they're covered, even though if they didn't have a labor agreement per se, but were conducting some sort of work, it means increased cost for the employers. And I think it may also have impact on the willingness of employers to hire students, for example, right? Because suddenly these students will get the rights of employees in terms of seniority awards or holiday accrual. So I think this is an important one, and we should not forget when doing budget planning for the next years to remember about these accruals.
And this also come into force from January next year, or?
Yes.
Okay. And looking at, in general, at the market, because you are as a global company, you can compare also market to market. And how does Poland stand? I mean, with these changes, with the pace of, doing the changes, how would you evaluate Poland?
So TMF Group is publishing on an annual basis Global Business Complexity Index that is ranking over 100 jurisdictions in terms of complexity of doing business. Poland was ranked 7th most challenging jurisdiction in Europe and 12th in the globe, right? So this is not a great rating, even though we saw a bit of an improvement compared to previous years. But this improvement could have also been caused by the deterioration of conditions to conduct business in other jurisdictions that we were compared against. I think the biggest element that has negative impact on doing business in Poland is the very last minute. Our government tends to take very last minute decisions. Vacatio legis of new acts is very short, and that gives entrepreneurs or companies very little time to prepare for these changes, to prepare for the system changes, new reporting, etc. Still this year we don't yet have final overview of the taxation for 2025, right? So that is a biggest pain. What we need is stabilization and predictability. Another element is that increases complexity of doing business in Poland, the fact that all of the documents need to be translated into Polish, that very few of the processes have been fully digitalized, and those are simple things, right? The roadmap that Ministry of Finance announced in July, it's pretty long, right? Mm-hmm. And doesn't bring an immediate change. And we've increased complexities of reporting and the need to submit same data to different authorities in different formats. A lot of time is just burned for administrative activities.
Just to summarize, there is a huge space for improvement, definitely. And I think that now Poland competing for the next investors coming into the Poland is quite important to take a look at not only what we are implementing, but also how we are implementing the law to make it more transparent and predictable for the investors.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the discussion.
Thank you.